The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
Let us pray. Loving Creator, I give you thanks for this opportunity to lift up this body, these representatives from the state of Minnesota. I give you thanks for all the gifts that you have given these women and men to serve your people with energy and intelligence and imagination and love. Today, O God, give them a generous share of your spirit and love for your people. Guide their minds and hearts in the right ordering of human affairs. May they be a source of hope and assistance to all your people. But today, O God, we also want to thank you for Al. We're so grateful for his work in this building. We're so thankful for his dedication to this house and these representatives. Dear God, we give you thanks for Al's honest work and his humble nature, his way of making everyone feel included, everyone thanked for jobs well done. Dear God, provide Al with hours of rest and days of relaxation and months of doing nothing and years of joy with his dear wife, Carol. This is our prayer. Amen.
The chaplain for today is the Reverend Richard Buller from Valley Community Presbyterian Church in Golden Valley, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 89th session, 4th day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Wednesday, January 14th, 2015.
If there is no further objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. Reports of standing committees and divisions. A copy of this order of business has been placed on each member's desk. If there is no objection, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the reports are adopted. I'm going to quiet everybody down. Members, if we can take the conversations either to the alcoves or to the retiring room. Second reading of House files.
Second reading of House File number 6.
Second reading.
Pursuant to Article 4, Section 19 of the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, Davids moved that the rule therein be suspended and an urgency be declared, and that the rules of the House be so far suspended so that House File number 6 be given its third reading and be placed upon its final passage.
I call on the member from Fillmore, Representative Davids, to explain the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, that is my motion to go directly to third reading.
Is there any discussion on the motion? The member from Hennepin, Representative Thiessen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Davis, for bringing the bill forward. This has been always a priority for the House of Representatives to move forward on these conformity bills on a bipartisan basis. And we do think it's also important that we get this relief out to folks, so I would encourage our members to cast a yes vote. And I hope Representative Davids and Speaker Doudt and others that you have conversations with the Senate to make sure that they take this up as fast as possible on their side as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Who's got it? Oh, Representative Lincheski.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, Representative Davids, Chair Davids, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Our caucus appreciates so very much the importance of bringing federal conformity to provide these tax benefits to Minnesotans as quickly as possible. And Chair Davids, I hope when you make your comments, you will tell us, and you know I've asked you this in taxes and in Ways and Means, if you could update us if you have Senator Bach and Speaker Doudt have got a agreement so that the Senate will concur when this heads over. We'd really like to see the Senate concur so we can get this off to the governor's meeting as quickly as possible. Again, as Leader Thiessen said, and Chair Davids knows, and members who've been here before know, this has been a strong priority of the Minnesota House bipartisanly for a long time. We've had to spend a lot of time educating the Senate and the governors, some of the governors sometimes, so it's wonderful to be here today as a group to get this done, and I thank you again so very much, Chair Davids.
Any further discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries. There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 6, an act relating to taxation.
Third reading. I recognize the member from Fillmore, Representative Davids, to explain the bill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Leader Thiessen. Thank you, Chair Lincheski. We have worked together for many years to push as hard as we could on the issue of federal conformity. Recently, I met with Senator Skoye and Commissioner Bowerly and former Commissioner Franz, and we were laying out some groundwork on how to get this very important bill through as quickly as we can. And the date that the IRS was going to open filings was January 30th. We found out last week that they moved that up to January 20th. When it was the 30th, the commissioners were asking for us to get this done by the 23rd in the governor's office. Well, when they opened it up for the 20th, it put a time crunch on this, so we put this bill on warp speed. And again, I thank the members here on my side of the aisle and the members on the other side of the aisle for their support on this. So very briefly, I'll be very brief on a description here. This bill had hearings in Chair Garofalo's committee as House File 6 and taxes. We took House File 27, made it into an A1 amendment, had a full debate, amended that on, and in Ways and Means Committee we heard House File 6 as amended with House File 27. A couple things it does is it discharges indebtedness on principal residence exclusion. There's a higher education tuition credit, educator classroom expenses, mortgage insurance premiums. I would sincerely like to also thank the Rochester delegation, Representative Norton, Representative Liebling, Representative Pearson, Representative Quam, for their help on House File 27. And simply what we're doing there is clarifying language that says that as legislative intent was in Chair Chesky's bill of 2013, is that you would calculate the numbers in a cumulative basis, not per year, in figuring out what they would get from their state payments. The other issue is expenditures that they used in planning, they could count towards their $128 million commitment that the City of Rochester has. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd really appreciate the support of the members on my side of the aisle and on the other side of the aisle. Thank you, members.
The member from Olmsted, Representative Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am here to urge members of my caucus and the other side of the aisle as well to support this House File 6, the tax conformity bill, which does include the Destination Medical Center technical fix. This simple clarification is much needed. I'm very pleased that it's in a bill this early in session and we can move it along. I do want to give folks a heads up that there are several additional clarifications needed for Destination Medical Center that were unable to be put in this early conformity bill, and so you will probably hear more about that so that the taxpayers of Rochester, Minnesota's, that they're protected. So members, today I'm pleased to be able to urge support for this tax conformity and Destination Medical Center technical fix.
Any further discussion? The member from Hennepin, Representative Thiessen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, I urge a yes vote on this bill today. I think we're doing the right thing by Minnesotans in moving this ahead, making their lives a little bit easier. I imagine that we're not going to have the same kind of bipartisan agreement on the final tax, the next tax bill that comes here in the legislature based on what I've seen so far. I am concerned of the bills that I've seen come out so far that there has been a significant emphasis in the Republican caucus on tax breaks for the very rich, tax breaks for corporations instead of tax relief for employees. In House File 1, it's about giving tax breaks on the income tax to the owners of businesses, but not to their employees, who are really the ones suffering from wage stagnation, as others have talked about for months now. So I hope, as we move through the process, Representative Davids, Majority Leader Pepin, Speaker Doudt, that we actually focus our tax policy and our tax discussion this year on Minnesota families instead of large corporations and the very wealthiest. And the other thing I would say is there's another set of issues, members, that deserves as much urgency as this tax conformity bill. And that is, first of all, providing flood relief to the Minnesotans across the state who suffered disaster relief, who suffered from the disasters last summer. The legislation that Representative Pawlowski championed in the last couple of years to make sure that we had a fund available to get us through the kind of short-term costs of that and not have to have a special session was an astounding success in this last year. But we are now here now, and we owe bills as a state of Minnesota to communities all across the state to help them deal with the impacts of those disasters. We haven't seen the kind of urgency and movement on that bill that I would like to see, and I hope that we see that very soon coming out. And there's another thing that we have to do with some urgency, and it's something we've traditionally done as a House, along with the tax conformity bill, and that's the deficiency bill. It's the responsible way to legislate, and we have several public safety issues that we need to address as quickly as possible, dealing with the public health issues related to Ebola, making sure that we have funds for the officers at our state security hospital in St. Peter, making sure we're getting flu assistance out to seniors, This needs to be tied with the flood relief bill and make sure that we pass this, I hope, as early as next week, because there is a real urgency to making sure we don't just deal with the conformity issues that Representative Davids brings forward today, but also with the disaster relief and the deficiency bill. We need to pay the bills that we owe to the people of Minnesota and make sure that that happens. So I encourage a yes vote today, but I hope that we don't lose sight of the other important work that's before us in the next week or so.
The member from Sherburne, Representative Knobloch.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Representative Thiessen, I wasn't going to speak today, but since you raised these other issues, I just want to inform the body in response to you that I am first proud to be the author of House File 164, the flood bill that you mentioned. I was actually over on your side of the aisle gathering support for it before we started today, gathering co-authorships. You can talk to Representative Lilly as one of the individuals that I talked to on your side of the aisle. We are planning on moving that bill expeditiously. In regard to the deficiency bill, Senator Cohen and I have a meeting with Commissioner France on Tuesday this next coming week to talk further about that bill. So we are also working on those bills, Representative Thiessen.
Any further discussion on House File 6? The member from Hennepin, Representative Pepin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Representative Davids. Trying to get used to you being over there. I like that. Thank you. Thank you for your work on this bill and getting it together so quickly. Members, we have a bill before us that does two pretty simple things. One of them is it clarifies the legislative intent on the D.M.C. bill that passed last year. And the second part, which I think is even more important, is the fact that we offer tax relief to Minnesota families. With the filing season opening on January 20th, just 5 days from now, House Republicans, led by Representative Davids, got to work right away after the election to bring this legislation to the floor today. Instead of passing tax conformity less than a month before the April 15th deadline, last year it was on March 21st, we're passing tax conformity now, 3 months to the day of the filing deadline. Minnesotans deserve certainty as they file their taxes. As they plan their family budgets, they need and they want to know what their tax liability is. Taking action now will ensure Minnesota families and small businesses can take advantage of the benefits of federal tax conformity. According to the Department of Revenue, if we don't act today, before the season opens, before the filing season opens, Minnesotans may need to pay millions more of their hard-earned dollars in taxes and deal with any additional hassle of filing more forms and paying increased fees for tax preparation. By passing this legislation today, we're making sure Minnesotans benefit from important tax provisions, including relief for teachers who spend money out of their own pocket to buy supplies, relief for students with tuition expenses, relief for homeowners paying mortgage insurance premiums, and relief for our small businesses to simplify record keeping. In total, the bill provides about $19.9 million in immediate tax relief to hardworking Minnesotans for the recently concluded tax year. As legislators, as you all know, we're charged with being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. That means we must never forget the reality that the taxpayer dollars we get comes from the pockets of our Minnesotan constituents that we represent. So we're here to protect their family budgets and make sensible decisions with their tax dollars, and that's the message we're sending today. By bringing this legislation to the floor, the first major bill to come before the chamber this year, we're fulfilling the promise to the hardworking taxpayers of Minnesota. We want Minnesotans to see tax relief immediately. Time is money. Let's get this done today and vote green. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 129 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The Chief Clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction and first reading of House Files 179 through 215.
First reading, House Files 179 through 215. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there's no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, these motions prevail. Is that it? Announcements. The member from Blue Earth, Representative Considine.
Hello. I'd just like to remind everybody that on Tuesday it's Greater Mankato Day at the Capitol. I hope you will all show up. Tim Miller, are you there? The food is excellent and it's free. 4 o'clock at the Kelly Inn. Thank you.
He said announcement. He must have did it. I wonder if we're going into it. I wonder if we're doing it after.
Why didn't he do that? Why did he not do the motions and resolutions already?
Further announcements. Representative Swedzinski.
I just want to invite you all next week on Tuesday. The League of Minnesota Cities, the Coalition of Counties and Municipals are going to hold a little boot camp for any new legislators that are coming in. That'll be going on next week. And if you have any questions about what's going on, they'll be talking about the different levels of government and how their processes work. And I'd encourage you all to attend so that we can better represent them and represent our constituents here at the Capitol.
Further announcements. The member from Wabasha, Representative Drzeskowski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members, just like you to join me today in recognizing and wishing a happy birthday to our colleague, Representative Lomer.
The former speakers can talk? Does everybody know that? Should I tell people to wait after? You're going to say please.
Any further announcements? Members, please remain in your seats. In a few minutes after we adjourn, we will be starting a program to honor our former Chief Clerk, Al Mathewitz, for his dedicated years of service to the Minnesota House of Representatives. The member from Hennepin, Representative Pepin.
Adjourn. Mr. Speaker and members, I move that when the House adjourns, it adjourns until 12 noon on Tuesday, January 20th, 2015.
Representative Pepin moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 12 o'clock noon on Tuesday, January 20th, 2015. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails. The member from Hennepin, Representative Pepin.
I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Pepin moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails and the House stands adjourned until 12 o'clock noon, Tuesday, January 20th, 2015.